video, we're going to be talking about immune response against influenza virus. Your first line of defense against a virus is your innate immune response. The three key players in this response are going to be interferons, natural killer cells, and the antibody-presenting cells. So basically, interferons are going to release cytokines, and they're going to alert the other neighboring cells. Cells are going to respond by producing antiviral proteins, which prevent the replication of virus. Another thing they're going to do is they're going to increase the expression of MHC class 1 molecules on their surface. Another key player in this response are the natural killer cells. So since interference caused all the cells to increase MHC class 1 molecules on their surface, there are sometimes what happens is viruses can downregulate the MHC1 molecules to escape the attack. And in this case, the natural killer cells are going to recognize the absence of MHC1 and kill the infected cells by injecting toxins like perforin and granzymes. The third important part of the innate immune response is the antibody-presenting cells. So there are two types, macrophages and dendritic cells. These cells are comparatively larger in size, and they have two main functions. One of them is to capture, process, and present antigens, and the second one is kill the free-floating virus via the process of phagocytosis. As you can see in this animation, the macrophages are always floating around in your body, and they're going to capture the virus, they're going to engulf it, they're going to inject the virus with toxins, and they're going to break it down and get rid of the waste. Let's move on to this animation. Another important role of the macrophage and dendritic cell is to multi-pathogen process it, break it down, and then present it as an antigen. Specifically, dendritic cells are also the bridge. As they present the antigen, they act as messengers to T cells, and in doing so, they're basically recruiting the adaptive immune system. Let's move on to the adaptive immune response. There are T cells we need to focus on while learning about the adaptive immune response against influenza virus. There are T cells, B cells, and the antibodies. Let's start with T cells. Two basic functions of T cells is to initiate programmed cell death and to give rise to the memory T cells. Let me explain how they do it. Remember how in innate immune response, the interferons release cytokines, and the cells responded by creating MHC1 molecules on their surface. The reasons our cells did this is so that our immune cells could tell the difference between our own cells and the infected cells, which are basically under the control of the virus. We are working to produce more viral cells in our body. So in this case, we have the CD8 plus T cells. We're going to recognize those MHC1 molecules on the surface of infected cells. They're going to bind to that antigen, and they're going to form the MHC1 complex. Once the binding occurs, the T cells are basically going to kill the infected host cells by inducing apoptosis or cell lysis. Let's look at B cells now. Their two basic functions are to make antibodies and develop memory B cells. In order for B cells to start making antibodies, it has to be fully activated. In order to be fully activated, the B cell needs to bind to and engulf a viral antigen. After internalizing the viral antigen, B cells are going to present that antigen on their surface using a MHC class 2 molecule. Once the B cell is presenting the antigen on MHC class 2 molecule on its surface, it needs to go through two steps, which are priming of the T helper cells and link recognition between the CD4 plus or helper T cell and the B cell. Both of these processes are pretty complex, but I'm going to give you a short brief on how it works. Let's refer to this animation to understand priming and link recognition. The cell on the left is the dendritic cell. Remember how we referred to it being the bridge between innate and adaptive immune response? Basically, what it's doing is presenting antigen on its surface by using an MHC class 2 molecule. The cell is going to present the antigen to the T helper cell. This process is called priming. So the T helper cells go through priming. They are mature enough, and after maturing, the CD4 plus or helper T cells will bind to the antigen presented on B cell's MHC class 2 molecule. This binding of the helper T cell and B cell is known as link recognition. Just to be clear, the green cell on the left is the T helper cell, and the blue cell on the right is the B cell. So the B cell is fully activated and ready to make antibodies. They're going to do so by dividing themselves into plasma cells and memory B cells. The T cells are also going to divide themselves into memory T cells. Both of these memory B cells and memory T cells are the ones that provide the long-lasting immunological memory for our body. So basically, if we get infected again with the same virus, your immune system will know what the game plan is, and they will attack the virus quickly and efficiently next time you get it. Plasma cells, which are formed from B cells, are the ones who secrete antibodies specific to the viral antigen. If you have antibodies floating around your body that war with the virus, it's going to do everything it can to get rid of the virus. There are four ways in which antibodies can attack the virus. The first one is opsonization, in which the antibodies are going to monitor free-floating viruses for phagocytosis, and the macrophage is going to come along and engulf the virus and degrade it. Another way antibodies attack the virus is by neutralization. They would make the virus unable to affect the new healthy host cells. Another thing antibodies can do is they can bind to the infected cells and attract the natural killer cells. Fc receptors present on natural killer cells bind to antibody kill the infected cells by a process called antibody-dependent cell-mediated cytotoxicity. Fourth, and the final game plan antibody has is to activate the complement cascade system, where a series of proteins come together and form a membrane attack complex, also known as the MSC, and that's basically going to lyse the infected cells. So the immune response is very complex and complicated. Let's do an overview of some of the innate and adaptive immune response. The key players in the innate immune response are the interferons, whose job is to basically release cytokines and sound the alarm so that cells know that they have an infection and they can start producing MHC1. The second important one is the natural killer cells, who are going to kill the cells that have been forced by the virus to downregulate their MHC1 molecules. And the third one is the antibody-presenting cells, namely macrophages and dendritic cells, who are basically going to capture, process, and present antigens and also kill free-floating virus cells by phagocytosis. Dendritic cells are going to recruit the adaptive immune response, and in adaptive immune response, you have the T cells, B cells, and the antibodies. T cells, or CD8 plus T cells, they're going to bind to the MHC1 complex presented on the infected cells. They're going to initiate the programmed cell death. They're going to kill the cell by apoptosis and cell lysis. We're also going to form the memory T cells, which are very important for our immunological memory. We're going to need it to be activated to form antibodies. They're going to be activated by the process of priming of T helper cells and link recognition between the T helper cells and the B cells. The B cells are going to divide themselves into memory B cells and plasma B cells. They're going to make antibodies. Once we have antibodies, they're going to attack the viral cells by four processes: opsonization, neutralization, activation of complement cascade system, or binding to infected host cells, and attracting cellular cells. The key differences between innate response and the adaptive response is that the innate response is always present. It is immediate and it is non-specific. It could be activated for any kind of pathogen, whether it be a virus or a bacteria. But the adaptive immune response is antigen-specific response. That's why it takes a little time to develop. It's also going to provide us with a long-lasting immunity.